Updates. Wow. Always like to know the source of things. I always like to see it through. I wasn't ready for Tommy Temper yesterday. Just came up in my feed and I'm like, wow, I'm currently 10 minutes away from Cook County Saloon. And Danielle Smith was in Colorado yesterday, at least in the morning and afternoon, and the media tells us, well, she wasn't due back till today, except for she came back yesterday at supper time. And I confirmed that this morning. Took my daughter. I have an appointment for her today, but she's in that appointment. And of course, I took the time to make some phone calls. I wanted to go live about an hour ago, but I called the office of the governor, and of course, they were happy to fill me in on what Danielle Smith was all about and what they rejected. And in fact, it was turned over to the federal agency that was there too in Colorado, to one of Trump's administrators on energy and investment at the state level. And they rejected Danielle Smith. They rejected her by 2 p.m. It was over. So everybody knows Colorado doesn't do carbon capture. It's all voluntary. If you don't know, Colorado's a Democrat state. Not only at the state level, but every single election outside of 2008 has been Democrat all the way through. Kamala Harris, in fact, what Danielle Smith was there for was 2 items, which also is the reason for her meeting Mark Carney at Cook County Saloon. I'm going to explain something to Albertans that should know, at least Edmontonians should know. Calgarians should know too. There's a highway too, the major highway from Calgary to Edmonton. When you get to just prior to Edmonton, you hit a little industrial community, a little town, but it's an industrial town called Nisku. And there's Leduc before that, and in between the two is the international airport. Well, Alberta is developing hydrogen fuel cells. Of course, nobody's taking it seriously except for poor old Alberta taxpayers. They've been funding it. And they have an experiment with government insiders, energy minister, and a few other folks making money off of taxpayers' tits. They have developed hydrogen fuel cells and have a fleet of hydrogen fuel cars, that you can get and rent from the government, from the airport, and they do a taxi service with hydrogen fuel cars, paid for entirely by the government of Alberta, aka Alberta taxpayers. It's 10 minutes down the way to Cook County Saloon. That's why they met there, because Danielle Smith went to Colorado to try and sell it to the Democrats. And of course, they rejected it. At least that's what the office tells me. It was all done and finalized by 2 p.m. Not only did the state government not take Danielle Smith as their carbon capture, the funding from the federal government, $32 million earmarked for state and for state entities that wish to volunteer into carbon capture, meaning there's no government mandates. It's not Canada. It's not Green New Deal. It's not Agenda 2030, 2021, and 2050. None of that has ever been bound in the United States, imposed in the United States, or ever required in the United States. Did Joe Biden sign off on all that with VP Kamala Harris? Sure, he signed on with the UK in a deal, and they have a treaty together, the Atlantic Charter. It's very sad. They did that. They made that. I hope Trump looks to rescind that, but for all intents and purposes, he already has through his executive orders. And Danielle Smith goes to those Democrats looking for a federal handout to get some of that money from the state turned over to Alberta's governmental projects supported by taxpayers, and maybe even putting Alberta taxpayers on the hook for potential growth into Colorado on such systems? And the answer is no, no, and no. Again, Colorado is a Democrat-run state, been Democrat for a long time, and in all federal elections since 1991, except for 2008, they have voted Democrat. Never voted for Donald J. Trump, ever. He lost 54-41 to Kamala Harris. So for Danielle Smith going there, it's all under Agenda 2050, which she supports. If you haven't seen her videos, Albertans, this has nothing to do with the pipeline, everything to do with carbon capture technology, binding, trying to get the state of Colorado to fund Alberta Technologies. That's a laugh, as it's all voluntary. They won't be giving any money to Alberta or the Alberta government, or having the Alberta government run contracts in the United States that must go through the federal agencies that absolutely rejected Danielle Smith by 2 p.m. yesterday. She was done, lost. Trump administration, move along, little girl. Who are you? Are you Mark Carney? Are you here for USMCA? Oh, you're not that representative? Beat it. She was done by the morning with the state level representatives. They were done with her by the morning. Changed up her suit, went on to the federal side that was there for the state, not for Alberta. But Danielle Smith was going to use taxpayer money to somehow lean on them because she has no authority and they will never talk to her. And they gave her a moment and then said sayonara. Done in half an hour. That's how long her meeting went. Unsuccessful. Waste of money. Flies back to Alberta, meets with Carney downtown. Then from there, they go to an after party, Cook County Saloon. She's wearing the gray jacket. Somehow she colored her hair from the morning to the afternoon. She does that quite a bit, changes her hair color almost daily with her. It's weird. It's very weird, to say the least. She does that, and unless it's wigs, but I think it's just coloring her hair all the time. Completely waste of money. Taxpayers must pay for that too. I don't know who could color their hair every other day, but that's Danielle Smith, sometimes twice a day. And you can see it in pictures. She posted them on X. People ask me about my pictures. Those are pictures of me in this car out my windshield, 9:45 yesterday. I was shooting a Facebook Live like now. Turn the camera, as everyone who watched last night saw. I zoom in a few times. They had their confrontation. I didn't know that was Danielle Smith till she turned and faced, and then I saw, as clear as my eyes can see, at 200 yards, and I still shoot firearms at 200 yards very accurately. So if I can hit a pop can with the pistol at 200 yards, I'm pretty sure I could see that very clearly. Sorry my phone doesn't zoom in while on video. I took still screenshots from my video. That's the best I got. But my eyes, I saw it. And then after the video was done, I pulled out where I saw UCP supporters rolling up Alberta flags, putting them in their vehicles. I drive out, I drive past the government-issued SUV and the other unmarked car, black, all black, both security vehicles and security teams there. And sure enough, facing me was Danielle Smith. So she came in last night, right to Edmonton. The reason why Cook County, and I tag Tommy Temper in this, is because it's only a hop, skip, and a jump to the only hydrogen fuel station made in Alberta, absolutely at taxpayers' expense, just 10 minutes down Gateway Boulevard, out to Calgary Trail, Nisku, Alberta, right across from the airport in Nisku. You can go look at it. Completely government subsidized hydrogen facility and fuel station at taxpayers' expense, even though there is zero demand, there's zero automobile manufacturing in that, outside of a few foreign companies not based in Canada. So I don't know how this is an Alberta first strategy or how this is a Canada first strategy. In fact, it's more same old UK baloney that won't materialize in Canada unless, of course, Canadians don't want to make their own cars or don't want American cars, and you believe you're going to have European cars brought here at the expense of your own industries right across Canada, because that's what it is. And anyone saying anything else is a liar, and it blows me away. The trolls come out just like libtards in my past. I still get a few, but this is the Cuckservative, who is no different to me. You stink and smell like a libtard that we all talk about, or at least we used to talk about, and that whole woke agenda. These are the same people. They call themselves conservatives. I know them as Cuckservatives, no different than the raging wokeism of a liberal. They are wokeism of the conservative side, completely gone from any rational, physical, conservative system or private system. It's all based on the government running everything, whether it's viable or not. Government insiders getting rich at the expense of people who are losing more and more in the private side. Like, what are we all soon going to be? Working for government? You know how that goes. Everybody can't work for the government. You can't have a 90-10 service sector to primary sector GDP. That comes at a tremendous amount of borrowing, money printing, and or radical taxation, which we're getting to in all categories. And yet, Cuckservatives, who are no different than the woke libtards, are speaking, sounding, and behaving exactly the same way. No, you're a lunatic, you're a liar, it's not true. Just like Danielle Smith negotiated a pipeline to the U.S., no. It's not in her realm as a provincial government entity. It's all federal. How Canadians don't know this is beyond me. Anything you have in place is designed through federal agreements, treaties with the USA, not negotiated by provinces. I can tell you that. And yet they still try to tell you that's the way it is, that somehow they're going to do something different. But they're not. And that wasn't the agenda she went down for. All on hydrogen fuel cells and carbon capture, trying to get federal funding bypassed from the state to the Alberta province. Not going to happen. Not on Donald J. Trump's watch. It's lunatic. And these conservatives are no different than the liberals they purport to hate and everything about them. They're entirely the same. It's no different. Oh, I want this brand of socialism, or I want this brand of fascism. Don't worry. Count on my autocracy. Shut up. Pay your taxes. I'm going to charge you more. People still don't address the fact that who's got the most taxes on fuel right now? The province of Ontario or the province of Alberta? The answer is the province of Alberta by massive leaps and bounds. If you look at the United States of America, there are no such of those taxes that are in Alberta, on Alberta fuel, oil, gas, all of that, in any state of the Union. Nowhere, shape, or form. None. Zero, zip, zilch, none whatsoever. So how do you come up with that you're conservative? In the context of you're physically conservative, the number one definition, but apparently that's not a definition in Canada anymore, and I don't even think it ever was. It's just a talking bit, a point that's more Republican conservative. We're social conservative, socialism and conservative, progressive conservative, liberal conservative. And that's the truth. It's always been this way, and anyone trying to deny that is a liar. All you have to do is look at the budget of Alberta. It's explosive, it's out of control, and there's no better education, there's no better health outcomes. In fact, a lot of times it's worse. You're paying more than everybody else in Canada, totally way more than any state of the Union, by leaps and bounds, yet it's not providing you any better services. In fact, the services are worse. Oh, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. There's money to burn. We're rich. We're rich? Wow. What's your GDP per capita, Alberta? For all your mighty resources that you all... Resources. America doesn't have those resources. Not even Texas or Illinois. Not even close to what Alberta has. Yet their economies, their per capita GDP, and their wages are far outpacing anything in Alberta by leaps and bounds. Yet Alberta needs to have, with its massive revenue, massive expenses, and way shittier outcomes. Can you imagine if there were no resources, it was based on being like Ontario or Quebec? Can you imagine? Alberta would be in absolute poverty. We'd be in a Atlantic Canada state. Now, there's a lot of states of the Union that are in that very way with lack of resources, yet their economies are performing extremely well. They're trading everywhere on the global stage, and the people are making tremendous amounts of money. Many states of the Union way outperforming and producing Alberta. So you tell me, and there's even Democrat states there, quite a few, in fact, outpacing Alberta alone. That should... Hello? Wake up! Day! But they don't. They don't. No, I don't want to hear it. Resources, everything. We're rich, we're powerful. Rich, powerful, but none of those numbers are matched in real economics. In fact, everyone will tell you it's a lie. Comparatively to all the states of the Union, you're in tremendously bad shape with an out-of-control, radical spending, deficit and debt-loading government, no matter who you elect. So you tell me, because they always say the same thing, but they always manage to outspend the last government by leaps and bounds. And as long as they call themselves conservative, you accept it as that's what it is, even though by all definitions, it's worse than your worst Democrat state. Worse than your worst Democrat state. By tax analysis, by wages, by debt to GDP, by corporate debt to GDP, by household debt to GDP. So please, what numbers or rationale are you using? Or, I don't need that pesky math stuff like Daniel Smith. That's mathy. I'm not really mathy. I'm more of a journalist. Reared and raised by the crown, brought in at 19 to fill my pockets like everybody else, lie, cheat, and steal, and leave it worse than I found it. And so many, oh, she's awesome, she's great. Is Kamala Harris awesome and great? Is Joe Biden awesome and great? Because that's who she aligned herself with over the last 2 days in Colorado. And if anyone's saying anything else other than that, you're lying to yourself, and you're lying to all your fellow Albertans and all your fellow Canadians. So you tell me, because it was all about Agenda 2050, Sustainable Development Goals, and the Green New Deal that Donald J. Trump's terminated. And then she found herself in the afternoon, early afternoon, with the federal representative who shut her down in a half an hour. But of course, her Twitter feed pictures, look, I'm in important meetings. I even had to change my dress, put on a different suit, and I even had to color my hair. How long did that take? So you had your morning meeting, then what? You took a 3-hour lunch to get pampered, get your nails done, get changed, get a makeover, get your hair dyed, and then go to your next half-hour meeting that was complete bust. If you don't believe me, and I don't ask anyone to believe me, get off your useless, lazy ass. Especially these Cuckservatives. Pick up the phone and call the state. Call the state. Office of the governor. Ask them. They'll put you in touch with who you got to contact, and they'll let you know. Then, if you talk well enough to those honest Americans, they may even tell you what they told me about how it's voluntary and they weren't going to share the funding, and it went to the federal representative, where she was gone by 2 p.m., 1:30 to 2 p.m. Very quick, but of course there's a team of photographers there. Take all the professional pictures. to cuckold more Albertans. Look how hard Daniel Smith's working on Kamala Harris agenda, Joe Biden agenda. Again, it's not hard to research. Colorado, Democrat government in majority at the state level, and it's always voted for the Democrats since 1991, except 2008. But other than that, mass majority. Trump's never won it in any clear, close minority. Not even close. Democrats win it majority. Anyways, that's my video. It's important, Ben, because I know you got it too on the Alberta 51 movement page. You've got a post on a pipeline deal out of Daniel Smith. It's completely fiction. It's false. Never happened. And I have the government link on the post for this one, Ben, that'll show you not even proposed, not even negotiated. And I know you know this better than anyone, Ben. It's done by the federal government when it goes out of state. There's interprovincial or interstate. That's all great. And states themselves, through U.S. treaties, can make all kind of trade arrangements in those agreements. But anything new has to be negotiated at the federal level. And Ben understands this, everybody. Premiers are like children. And it's like the adults are in the room. The adult of one party, one family, doesn't talk to the children of the other parent and family. It's just wrong on so many levels. And Daniel Smith keeps putting on these facades, these shows, and the federal government of the United States wholeheartedly rejects her every time. It's all theater. Well, she enjoys herself partying last night in Edmonton. What a fun day in Colorado. Couple hours of work, got a manicure, hair done, looked pretty for the cameras. All show. Nothing effectual came out of Colorado. In fact, she was denied and rejected. The results of carbon capture are clear in Colorado, as it is all 50 states. There's no 2050 agenda, never was. No 2020, no 2021, no Paris. None of those deals have ever been bound on the 50 states. All bound by the Crown in Canada, wholeheartedly, federally, and provincially. All of them, regardless of party. So sorry if you're a liberal, you're a libtard. If you're a conservative in Canada, you're a cuckservative. We can go on and on. New Democrats, you're just a commie wastoid, thinking that somehow you're going to get all these things. None of them are ever going to manifest unless the Crown says it does, and that's at your expense, not for your benefit. Wake up, get your heads out of your butt. The sooner people do that, the better. But like I said, don't take any of this as my word. Pick up the phone and do it yourself. Americans, if anything, are straightforward, honest, will always give you the answers they can give you honestly. And you just explain to them, listen, this is what I'm being told. Is this true? Is there a pipeline deal? Is there something? And they're going to say, oh, no, there was some carbon capture presentation by your premier looking for funding from our federal grant program. No, you're not a state of the union. And no, we don't have an agreement like that with you. It's voluntary here. So we're not doing anything mandated by state or federal government. Bye. Oh, and hydrogen fuel cells. No, thank you. That's the truth. And you'll get that easy. Bye now. That's my video. Sure. Get it out there.